To Law and Crime. If you're just joining us, we're following the high-profile trial against defendant Karen Reed. She's accused of murdering her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV after a night out drinking at Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 28, 2022. Her defense team, on the other hand, is saying that the defendant is being framed in a massive police cover-up. This is because O'Keefe was a police officer and his body was found out in the snow where Boston PD officer Brian Albert lives. Let's get you back into that courtroom now and listen to Brian Higgins. He's still on the stand.
You legit planted one on me. Defendant responded, I know where the cameras are anyway, duh. And then it was OMG Bruins with an emoji after that. I responded, so your slick move isn't on there with some question marks? Defendant responded, course not. I responded, oh my God, and then I said, I almost, an emoji with somebody throwing up. Defendant responded, it was a peck anyway. I kissed Kerry and gay Jeff too. I responded, yeah, weak. I agree.
Now, as far as cameras at Mr. O'Keefe's house, is that something that you were aware was there prior to that conversation with the defendant?
No, not that I recall.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 79. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, LOL, funny. I responded, so now he is jealous of me, question mark. Defendant said, no, with an exclamation. I told you, he likes you a lot. I said, which makes this worse, question mark. Defendant said, you said or did something at the bar last week, and he goes, I like Brian more and more. I responded, I think he's a good dude too. Defendant responded, yeah, he is. I responded, funny. What's your end game? What do you want from me? You will just confuse it should say the shit out of yourself because I'm a lot of fun.
Now, sir, the he that you're referring to in those text communications, who was that, just for clarity?
John O'Keefe.
And if I could direct your attention to page 84. And ask you to read from that page, sir.
I said, it was fun. Defendant said, I've complimented you today too, with a couple of exclamation points and then some type of emoji. I said, and kicked my nuts in. Defendant said, OMG, how? I responded, if I had more notice, I would have grabbed a drink somewhere, so I'm all set with that's, and then I said in quotations, that's fine, but I am not asking again. Defendant said, well, it was 7 p.m. and I'm super cool, so right now I'm asking again with some type of I think it's a smiley face. I responded, coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. The defendant responded, now equals not. That sounds good. I responded, that's trouble. Defendant said, why, question mark.
And if I could direct your attention to page 90. Ask you to read from that, sir.
90?
90, yes.
The defendant said, no, I'm busting your chops, it's okay. I responded, no, you are sensitive, nice try. You don't think if I came over for a drink, we would have gotten carried away. Defendant said, you in capital letters said you were adaptable and tons of fun. I took that as an invite for an invite. And I responded, oh, okay. Defendant responded, I'm 42. I know what happens when you invite someone over for a drink. I responded, you're the master of avoidance, so you think I would just give it up. Defendant responded, I've been a lot in my life. I have a little bit of cop DM mindset, and then said, been through.
And if I could direct you to the next page, 91, sir.
Defendant said, what am I avoiding, question mark. I'm not afraid to be direct. I responded, some of my questions. Defendant responded, okay, which? Ask again. I said, nope, tricks are for kids. Defendant responded, I'm pretty sure we would have hooked up. I responded, okay. Defendant said, I can't say that, question mark. I said, of course you can. Defendant said, did I miss any other questions, sir, question mark. Probably, are you having a drink right now, question mark. Defendant said, yeah, on my second. I said, show me what you got.
And if I could direct your attention to page 99. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, none of that is true, exclamation point. I'm not talking to other guys, and I have issues with John, and things are far from perfect. You just happen to know about him, BC, I guess, because we all hang out at the same bar. I'm sure you talk to other girls. That's what single people do. I'm not married, neither are you, neither is John. I responded, was that your attempt at a lecture or deductive reasoning, question mark? What do you want from me, question mark? Defendant said, that's just how I think / feel. You don't need to approve. I've already answered that last question a couple of times, I think. I responded, I'm not judging you, never have, never will. Defendant responded, you shouldn't. I don't know what your private life is about, nor is it my business.
Thank you, sir. If I could now direct you to page 102 and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, my only, I'm assuming, point is that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating them, and we have no intention of ever getting married. The point of dating is not to get tied down. If you're not confident, you should be, in my mind anyway. The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. I responded, okay, so he is cool with you dating other people, question mark. Defendant responded, and I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he's seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same way, and you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. I responded, okay. Defendant said, you don't agree with me, question mark, question mark.
If I could direct your attention to page 107. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, at a bar, question mark. I responded, I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house. Probably after 8. Defendant said, probably after 8. I responded, okay, if you don't wanna, that's fine, no pressure. Defendant responded, I will a drink. It looks like I tabbed the bubble with a question mark. I then said, what do you drink, question mark. Are you out now, question mark. Defendant responded, sorry, I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. I responded, haha, send me a pic of you two.
Now, you had testified earlier about some occasion prior to the 28th when the defendant had come over your house in West Roxbury, correct?
Yes.
This page that you just read, as well as some of the successive pages after that, is that sort of arranging for that to occur after she goes out or leaves from a friend out in Boston?
I believe she was out with a friend that night in Boston, a female friend, yes.
And that evening when she came over your house, about how long was she there?
Not long.
And so what happened when she arrived, or what, if anything, did the two of you talk about?
It was kind of more of this. It was a kind of a, wasn't an interrogation. It was a face-to-face version of trying to suss out and vet, like, what is this all about? Again, I mean, I'm not proud of these text messages. It is what it is. I'll take responsibility for them. But, John was a friend at the same time, and I certainly wasn't If they were at the end of the relationship, they were at the end of their relationship, but I wasn't going to have somebody utilize me and weaponize me against somebody that I liked. And it was just a weird experience. It was, I don't even think either one of us finished a drink. It was, like I said, it was this type of like, what is this all about? And then she left. I think I might have asked her to text me when she got in, so I knew she got home.
Now, that evening or at any other point, in your friendship or your relationship, whatever, however you want to term it, was there any other sort of intimate contact beyond what you described occurring as she walked you out that night you were over at Mr. O'Keefe's house for the Patriots?
Are you asking if she ever kissed me again?
I'm asking if there was any kissing, any sexual relationship, anything at all between yourself and the defendant.
Absolutely not. In referring to at my residence when she stopped by, it was just, I was very uncomfortable, and it was just an uncomfortable situation. Just a weird vibe. That's the best I can describe it.
And lastly, sir, lastly as it applies to this, turning your attention to the last page, number 118. And there's a couple different dates from the middle to the bottom of the page. Is that correct?
There is.
If I could ask you to start reading from, excuse me, where it says Sunday, January 23rd, 9:40 p.m.
Defendant, so Sunday, January 23rd at 9:40 p.m., defendant texted me, phone works, and then an emoji with arrows going like both ways. And I responded, thought you were all set, question mark. Defendant said, with talking, question mark? No. I said, are you sure? And she didn't respond, and I believe I said, that was it for that, the 23rd, I'm sorry.
So then the next date that any text communication was sent between the two of you would have been Friday, 11:32 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct. That would have been when we were at the waterfall.
And again, what does the text say there?
Well.
That's from you to her, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the next text communication is the following day, or Saturday, the 29th at 11:54 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who is speaking in that communication, and what is said?
That is the defendant, and the defendant said John died.
And did you respond to that at all?
No.
And did you have any other communication with Ms. Reed following receiving that text message on January 29th?
No, I have not.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can take this. Sir, if I could, a couple more questions for you, taking you back on the early morning of January 29th, when you had come from Waterfall to Fairview and then you were leaving from Fairview, if I could turn that sort of portion into your mind. When you're pulling away from the residence, the period of time that you were talking about as far as the plow being down and scraping a little bit on the ground, you recall that?
I do.
About how much distance are we talking about with respect to that?
Distance less than a foot, I would say. I mean, it's real quick. I heard it.
And then as far as when you familiar with an area in the front of Mr. Albert's property at 34 Fairview where there is a flagpole and a fire hydrant?
I do know where that is, yes.
And as you drove by the house that evening, where were you in relation to that part of the yard?
When I drove away?
Yes.
Well, I might have been I was in the street. I pulled away, so that area would be on my passenger side.
And so what I'm asking, sir, is as you pulled away, did you pull away alongside the curb? Did you pull to the middle of the street? Or where did you direct the vehicle to go as you were pulling away?
Like any other time, I pulled away from the curb, and that's kind of it's a one-lane street, so to speak, and nobody was coming towards me, so just pulled out into the street, drove away.
If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
I'll see you for 1 minute over here at sidebar before we begin. Jurors, feel free to stand up and speak.
All right, we were seeing there the end of the direct examination. And Katherine, let me ask you a couple things. I think the best part of the entire direct examination was actually when we heard from Brian Higgins and he said, look, I'm just trying to suss out the situation. I thought she was trying to utilize me and weaponize me against John O'Keefe. This is a friend of mine. I didn't want to go behind his back. What do you think? I mean, I thought that was the best part of the entire direct examination.
I agree, because I felt this witness is so credible and likable. He actually said, I'm not proud of those text messages and I take full responsibility for them. That tells me a lot of integrity for this guy in terms of, hey, I like the defendant, but I'm not willing to move forward if she and my good friend John O'Keefe are still together. And he even emphasized that there was no other sexual relationships or physical contact between the two of them, even though she went over to his house. But I also like, by the way, how the prosecutor ended those text messages with the last text by the defendant that John died. I think that took my breath away, because it's almost the same way as how we consume social media now, where you see text and then reply, text, reply. So the drama was building up when the prosecution was laying that all out to us. And then we see that the last text is John died.
Right.
I wish the prosecutor asked, why did you not text back, or what happened next?
Yeah, I think that was also a good way to end. I mean, it was just so blatant and blunt. John died, and it's leaving the jury to think that was a little bit harsh on her part. All right, we have to take a break, but stay with us. We'll be right back, and when we do, we'll have some coverage for you on the Chad Daybell case. Stay with us.